Hi everybody, my name's Jake, and I do Pathfinder stuff and other stuff too. We're going to go over all of the new monsters that are in the Monster Core book by Pathfinder. The beginning though, I have some complaints. Of course! So, why did they take out the land shark? I love boulets. They are scenery-changing monsters, and they are frightening. They swallow people, they can dig up entire towns. They're great. But they're gone. The Chimera has also changed a little bit. It has the now draconic powers of the new dragons, which, by the way, I'm not going over today. If you want me to go over dragons, put a comment in the comment section, obviously, and let me know, and I'll do a dragon video too. Also, Golem anti-magic doesn't exist anymore, which I think is great for players and GMs, actually. Because before, GMs, if they wanted to be fair and have a golem, they had to plan for the party to be able to have a weapon or spell to be able to defeat it. Now it doesn't matter. They don't have it. They still, like, resist some magical damage, but it's not like they're immune to spells, except for these. Cool. But they're not grouped anymore. There's not a golem group. And so it's alphabetized by monster, whereas most of the rest of the book is alphabetized by family. Couldn't they just have like a golem section? Like, if I'm looking for a flesh golem, I'm not going to be looking for charnel creation. I'm looking for a flesh golem, or maybe golem, and then I don't find it. And then I get pissed and then I throw the book away. See, Paizo? Don't do that. People throw their book away. This list that I'm going to be going through is alphabetized by monster family, which is a little bit weird, but it's the way it was listed in the resource that I found that had all of the new and changed monsters. So it was convenient for me. Deal with it. So, the first one is the Akhana. It's an Aeon. And look at that cute little guy. Isn't he adorable? Yeah, yeah. He can take your life away. Isn't that great? This creature is all about mysterious magical forces, and that it is the thing behind it. It can create life, and it can steal life and heal itself, but it can also just like create stuff in the area if it wants to. It has the power of creation. Yeah, okay, so it's like fairly high CR 12, but this is something I'm going to be using immediately in one of the games I'm running. Because it can be the secret, like, Machiavellian planner behind some weird, mysterious, magical things happening. Anyway, so it has things like, it can fly, of course, and it can punch people. Who cares? It has multiple arms, so it can get multiple attacks, fine. It also has spells. But the thing that I like about it most is that it can just create a 5-foot burst of permanent life. Also, because it has power over life, it can wrap its tail around you, suck life out of you, and if you die, it absorbs your soul. And it can make you fail recovery checks. Yeah, it's kind of messed up for like a neutral creature. But it is. Useful though. Next monster is the Bogwid. I kind of really like this creature because it's slimy, it stinks like it has an aura of stench, and it's a Frogtopus. Why wouldn't you want an octopus frog? It also, of course, spreads a disease, its own fever, and it launches its young at you. Yeah, so, like, if you want a monster that throws babies, this is it. I mean, not that you would, because that's weird. I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know. Next monster, the Conrit. It is just a giant swimming centipede. Its venom is cool, though. Like, if you could harvest this as a player, it makes people off guard. I mean, it does damage too, but it makes them off guard and slowed. That's cool. Next monster. Venedaemon. I'm just going to go with that. It just looks like an old one occult worshiper. Because it has, what is that, 20 tentacles for arms? The Venedaemon is a surprisingly low-level monster for its abilities. Like, it can sense magic. It's only CR 5. It has tentacle attacks that do lots of extra damage if it had just cast a spell. It has a bunch of regular spells. Like, it's a 5th level caster. It can cast Fireball, Blazing Bolt, Dispel Magic, Invisibility, which is always fun. I think that my favorite thing about this monster is that it has that really nasty feel of a Great Old One. Like, it can cause madness by whispering. It has an ability called Twisted Whispers. It whispers to a creature within 15 feet, which has to succeed on a save, or be stupefied 2 for a minute, or 3 on a critical failure. That's awesome! Just whispering from across the room, and you just kind of like go brain dead. Next monster. This is the Seraptis. It's a suicide demon. It torments people into trying to off themselves. And it has an ability that is basically cause depression. It can suck the blood from people with its wrist and arm mouths, or it can attack you with its swords with its forearms. This thing is messed up. It's CR 15, but it can wound you 2 different ways, and then it heals from wounding you. And it is just a creature that is meant to torment someone until they kill them. It seems like a lot of fun to me. This could be like the big bad's big bad. Like the person actually pulling the strings on the person who's the bad guy of the adventure. So if you're ever lacking for something and you're like, the adventure's over because they killed my bad guy. Nope, there's one more. So I guess this is a good way for this isn't even my final form in a different way. Next monster is the Coarti. I'm going to call it a Coarti because I'm not really sure. It is an angel or a good person who died and their soul was stolen, usually by a devil. And they have a contract written all over their skin. Basically, they're just a melee fighter and they have a sonic shriek in 30 feet that recharges when they take holy damage, and they start bleeding when they take holy damage. I don't know, it's like a good thing that it has persistent bleed damage, because then it gets to recharge its most useful ability. Yeah, I don't know. It's a flavor, I just don't care. The Xoarian. The Intellect Devourer is back. Yes. So, this has the same abilities as an Intellect Devourer from D&D. It can cause confusion. It can attack people and kill them and enter their brain case and eat their brain and take over their body, and then later on they can erupt from the body and attack someone else with its tentacles. I love this thing. I'm using this as soon as I can. Oh, and it acts like the other person. Something that I thought was really cool that I heard on a different YouTube video is that you could have a player, if they're willing, like if they want to change characters, have them play that character for a while, and then like suddenly out of nowhere, this creature just erupts from their head. And then after the combat, the party has to wonder, how long was that character actually a monster? How long were they misleading or misguiding our adventure? That's cool. Next up is the Cuckoo Hag, or Cuckoo Hag? I don't know. I'm going to call her Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She is the replacement for the Night Hag, as in she's about the same CR. Well, she's actually a little bit higher. But she does like a lot of different dream stuff and sleeping stuff. But she is so much cooler than that. She tries to convince people to stay with her willingly, and then she takes them into her extra-dimensional house and steals their soul. This is a story by itself. This is an adventure. You could have the Cuckoo Hag just like kidnapping children from all over, or who cares, the king, whatever. And the party has to go find out where this ugly, weird old woman lives. I think my favorite part about it is, I mean, it has illusions and change shape and stuff like that, and charming spells and dreaming spells, nightmare, fly, whatever. But the thing that I like about it is just that she has this extra dimensional space that she crafts to her whim. And she can create a door that someone else can come through. So she can let people into her house, which has whatever food or objects or anything she wants in it. This would be really cool. I guess it'd be a lot of fun for the GM, and that's why I say it. She is ripe with possibilities. Ripe? I meant rife. Rife with possibility. Whatever. Next new monster. Imp. I know it's not a new monster, but I wanted to point out that I like that the Imp has changed so that the Imp is its own family, which can be any kind of fiend. So they're just like imps rampantly infesting the planes. And they have abilities based on whatever the plane is they come from. That's cool. It's just a change that I think is neat. How many of you like Otyughs? Show of hands. Me. I love them. They're freaking disgusting. And that's what I love about them. I was really sad that Pathfinder did away with them because they're D&D. But they have a replacement. Some of you might already know that there is an Ofalth that is basically a more powerful version of it that covers itself in trash and stuff. And now there's a larval one that is CR4. So you can put a disgusting insect creature that gathers trash and filth around it to cover itself as a shield. I'm just imagining one of these that looks like a big mound of poop in a sewer. I don't... Maybe it would take a specific kind of party who would like to fight that monster, but I would do that. Anyway, it has diseases and stuff. Great. Before I get to the next monster, I feel like since I said I'm mentioning all the new monsters, I have to mention the new monsters that are new, technically, but really don't matter. Like, the Dwarf Warrior is a new monster, technically. It's basically just a dwarven fighter. The Dwarf Stonecaster is also a new monster. It's basically just a kineticist. It rolls boulders at you and causes tremors in an area. Elf Ranger is new. It's a ranger who's an elf. I mean, this isn't... There's a gnome bard, although this one is actually interesting because, like, it's way more on the side of, like, being a fairy than what I think of as PC gnomes. It can cause people to dance a jig. I love that. And it can also, if it's hit, it can teleport 5 feet away and get resistance to the damage. It's super low level, but super fun at that level. Also, Halfling Street Watcher is just a town guard. And Halfling Troublemaker. It's just a rogue that's a halfling. However, they have an action that is throwing an egg that is filled with paint, glitter, and confetti. It's not an item they have, it's just an action. So technically, they have an infinite number of these eggs that are glitter bombs. I could probably run a low-level adventure with just this halfling monster. Because, like, who's running all over town pelting all the guards? Put, like, some stench in there somehow, like a stink bomb. Be fun. Now, there are a few new oozes, and oozes are fun, and I was sad that, of course, a lot of people were, I imagine, that Pathfinder had to get rid of some D&D specific oozes because the gelatinous cube is iconic, and so is the ochre jelly and the black pudding. I think people will be happy to know the black pudding is no longer standard, and the thing that replaced it-ish, meaning another ooze at the same level, does not split. It steals your weapons, which, granted, is annoying, but not immediately lethal when a bunch of guards show up to help and they shoot crossbow bolts into the black pudding, splitting the black pudding. However, the lowest level ooze that they included does split, the string slime. It emits, like, its pseudopod is this weird branch network of slime. Looks sort of like nerves. And it has an ability that only works if there are 2 of them, so if they are split, if they take slashing damage and have at least 10 hit points, if there are 2 of them, they have an ability called Tag Team that says the slime arcs protoplasm to the other string slime. It's an AoE because there's 2 of them. They like throw their slime at each other and hit you in the meantime. That's cool. Alright, next ooze, the Tomb Jelly. This one's kind of boring. It's CR5. Oh, the previous one, the String Jelly, if I didn't say it already. String Slime. String Slime is CR3. Don't know if I mentioned that. The Tomb Jelly is an interesting ooze. It's CR5. It is built to work with friendly undead. Like, it slimes an undead that's its ally, and it restores hit points and grants that undead one of its abilities to inflict persistent void damage. That's really neat and interesting. I think it works best with skeletons, because the only thing that the Tomb Jelly's acid dissolves is flesh. Thank you for raining on me. But I could see a lot of purposes for this, like somebody could just keep a Tomb Jelly to clean the bones of something. I mean, maybe there aren't that many purposes for it, but like a hag could build a house out of people's bones. Yeah, I like witches, I know. Alright. And now we get to the CR7 ooze, the one that I told you about that steals your weapons. It's Living Tar, and that is pretty much the only special thing about it. You hit it with a weapon, it takes it, and it beats you with acid and punching and grabbing, and it's an ooze. It's boring, but it is useful and effective. Can you have a zombified skeleton? Like, technically, you could raise a zombie, its flesh gets eaten, is it still animated? And if so, does it change to a skeleton? Random thoughts. Another technically new monster is the Dromaar Mountaineer. The Dromaar Mountaineer is technically a new monster, but it just doesn't matter. It's basically an orc. Dromaars are half-orcs, but this is basically an orc fighter that uses bolas at range. Cool idea, but that's all it is. The Lawbringer War Priest is also another new one, but it's basically just an ASMR. Gongorinan, Jesus. Gongorinan is a Qlippoth, and neither of those are hard to pronounce. Qlippoths are creatures that used to rule the Outer Planes, and then the demons took over, and now the Qlippoths hate them. Qlippoths are like this weird medley of random pieces of creatures that exist, because they were the before creatures. So they're just like mushed together assemblages that don't necessarily make any damn sense at all. But they all are trying to kill mortals. The Gongorinan is a little bit different, and it's amusing that it's different. I'll show you the picture here. The thing that is different about this one is that it figures, all right, if I kill somebody, all right, they're trying to keep evil people from being reborn as demons. And so they figure, if I just kill somebody, they could be reborn as a demon, and then I'm just making another enemy for myself. So instead of killing them, why don't I just turn them to stone, or turn them into an object, or push them into a wall, and they stay there forever. If they're in another form, they don't die, and so they don't have to deal with that person later. That's a cool idea! That seems clever for a big crab monster thing. Aside from that, they're kind of boring. It hits things. It hits things multiple times. It has venom. It has some spells. It has a stinger. It can disturb you with the display in its mouth. It just opens its mouth and there's like random weird body forms in there. It doesn't really specify. I don't know. So it just goes blah, and you go insane. And it makes you reject tools if it hits you with its club, because obviously it has a club, even though it's a crab lobster volcano. If it hits you with a club, you have to make a will save or release any manufactured items you're holding. What? Whatever. It's interesting. It's useful. It's a little too high level to be useful in all adventures. It's CR11. But I do like it a lot. It seems really messed up that it's really just trying to lock people away, especially if you are in a group that can't remove petrification. it can easily just remove characters. So GMs, be careful using this thing. Next monster, the Quai Dao To. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Okay, so I'm showing a picture on the screen. The thing's got an elephant trunk. It's got fish gills and big copper-colored eyes, a huge mouth, and big stumpy feet. This thing is from Vietnamese myth, and I do not understand it at all. Not the monster. Like, the monster's fine. I can understand the stat blocks. I can read the stuff. Great. I have no relation to the mythology of this monster, and usually I do, because I've consumed a lot of mythology over my life. But this thing, I don't understand. Okay, so it hunts on land, it sucks up water, and then it shoots water at people or uses the water for different abilities, like mist breath. This thing seems to be like, I don't know, based on Kirby or something. It's huge already, and it can just like puff itself up, like with air, I guess, to be gargantuan, cuz? Anyway, I don't see a purpose for this because it does so many weird things. Like, it has a fear aura. It reflects light spells. It can shoot water at people. It can make it impossible for people to see it. Like, it can create mist and it can see through mist. And it can inflate and get bigger. It seems to be just like an all-purpose weird fucking monster. Now, the Raja-Krodha. I really like this one. First of all, I have to say, that is a very nice look of surprise on that man. He just looks like something... He looks like that last monster just walked in on his hall. Yeah, like, what the hell is that thing? So, Pathfinder had to do away with the tiger-headed Rakshasas. This is their response. It doesn't work exactly the same way, although I'm glad that it no longer has the, like, 3rd edition killed by a blessed bolt vulnerability, because that's weird. I know, it made sense at the time, but anyway. So, this creature really seems to fit with Persian myths. I don't know a lot about those myths, but I do know a little. And it has a whole bunch of, like, weird-ass illusion, trickery, and enchantment spells. And that seems really common in their myths. It can also change its shape, of course. And it has sneak attack, and... Alright, this creature is medium-sized, right? It has swallow whole. What? Sure, okay, that's great. I also like that it can, like, if you use a fortune or misfortune effect, it makes you terrified. Also, if you try to roll a recall knowledge check on it, it can pervert your knowledge check. It's called knowledge of delusion. If you fail, you are off guard to it. Like, you're just stunned that you don't know what this thing is. It's so mysterious. What could it be? Sneak attack. I love this thing. I want to build a story around this. It mostly just messes with people, and it has clairaudience and haste. It's a really good all-around CR10 creature. It's smart enough to be a manipulator too. It's cool. Next monster, Sargassum Heap. It's made of seaweed. So this is basically sort of the replacement for the shambling mound. It doesn't have the link to electricity, which I kind of wish it did because I liked the fairy tale that led to that. But it is interesting. It's a living plant that lives in the ocean that tries to kill you. The Sargassum Heap is CR6. The Doldrums Heap, which is just a bigger form of it, is CR9, but it's big enough to crush a ship. And that's cool. It can hold 3 people at once in its arms. And move them around. It's just, these are like really cool. I did not expect that. I thought it might be a kraken or a shark or something. Nope, it's seaweed, come to kill you. The Sadakthi Marauder sort of replaces the Sea Devil Brute. It's a fishman, and it can cause fear with their shriek, and they can talk to any creature that has the aquatic trait or amphibious trait. And if they have any creature that has one of those traits, they can speak to it, and given a week regularly interacting with it, it becomes permanently helpful. So they sort of like enslave or gather animals under the ocean, and they have pets. And the Sadakthi Speaker, which is sort of a replacement for Sea Devil Baron, can use a nearby animal as a shield or cover. Like, it can just grab an animal, it takes the damage for it, or it can hide behind an animal. It's fucking weird, but interesting. These are, like, these remind me a lot of the Sawagans from D&D. They're just fish people that think that they are the shit. They think that they are amazing and brilliant and blessed, and they would like to rule the world. Useful for an underwater adventure. Besides that, not. Obviously, they're fish people. One of my favorite kind of monsters, the Sprigjack. Alright, it's a smaller version of the Twigjack, which is basically a twig blight. So they're just animate little, sort of malicious fey plants. They're not that malicious. Like, if anybody comes into their territory, they try to kill them, and they try to defend other fey creatures. The Sprigjack is just a smaller version of it. Just like the bigger one, it can teleport through undergrowth. It's nothing special. It claws, it throws splinters of itself, presumably. It's cute, though. Now a Vescavore swarm. What's a Vescavore? I'm glad you asked. They're an unholy little demonic creature that eats everything it sees, including the ground. It can eat the ground out from under your characters and create difficult terrain. It's a flying swarm that causes stupefied and confusion. They're hideous, but apparently they're good to eat. It says so in the lore. And they're surprisingly delicious. Now, they are a swarm creature, CR5. The part that makes them horrible to fight is the Vescavore Queen. If the Vescavore Queen is present, and it's another new monster, she's CR9. If she's present, she makes these large swarms huge sized and can give them up to 4 extra attacks per round. So if you see the Vescavore Queen, fucking kill her or run the hell away. I kind of like the idea of like trying to raise these just to let them loose. They're supposed to be really hard to like corral and maintain because they eat so much, and they can eat their way out of anything because they can eat almost anything, including the ground. That just shocks me. Anyway, it'd be fun if there's like some crazy druid who starts raising these things and just letting them loose near cities. And finally we have the Zakui. I love these things because they are horrible and ubiquitous. CR6, medium aberration. They are big insect people, and they're basically just like melee fighters that have protective abilities and ranged attacks, and they can stab really well and stab multiple times because they have 4 arms. And they can also spit mucus, which causes a disease called Zakui larvae. These things burrow into your body, grow from your flesh, and then take control of your mind. These things are fucked up, and they can be anywhere. They can be just like in some sort of hibernation. There doesn't have to be anything around them that is edible. There's just these larvae waiting there, and then somebody walks by and it wakes up and it starts eating them. Sort of like ghouls or skeletons. I would just shove these anywhere. In fact, I'm probably going to in the adventure that I'm running. Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But they're freakish as hell. The most interesting ability they have, because mostly it's stabby and take control, and you know, it's a disease, so it hurts you, is Preserve Prey. If a living creature within 30 feet is reduced to 0 hit points, they channel corrupt vitality energy into that person, and they don't gain the dying condition, and they can't make recovery checks, and they're still at 0 hit points, so they're still unconscious. Any healing spells, healing vitality spells, that are used on that person get countered with a +15 counteract modifier. So as soon as somebody hits 0, it's like they're just cocooned and off in the distance. They're not useful anymore. I'm going to see how this plays out. Remember, tell me if you want to know about dragons, and I'll do a dragon video. There are other dragon videos out there. That's why I didn't do one first. And I didn't see any videos out there for the new monsters that are in the Monster Core. And I could only think of a couple of interesting things about the Monster Core, and the new monsters is why I would pick it up. Link below if you want to pick it up. I appreciate you being here. If you like this video and know somebody who wants to know about the new monsters, because I would, share it with them, please. And I would appreciate it if you would like this video, because then it can be spread to more people. And thank you for my lovely patrons. I often say that just like as habit, but I do appreciate you guys. Like a fuck of a lot. I also like hanging out with you guys. It's fun. If anybody else wants to join, go to Discord. I mean, not the patrons. You can go to Patreon and join the patrons, but go to Discord and join us for chatting, because we do that and talk about games and post weird things, because we're people who are weird. If you're a GM or player, I guess, and you want to know about the Slithering adventure, click here. I go over it and give you details on why you should or shouldn't do certain things. And over here is a video that's suggested to you by YouTube, and of course, YouTube is always right, so click that. Or both. Yeah, click both at the same time. I think that works.